Welcome to the Audaci-Tea, the show by women for women. I'm one of your hosts, Lisa, and you may know me as YV Edit on TikTok as well as on YouTube and perhaps soon some other social media platforms. And I have my two amazing co-hosts with me. We have the Sovereign Woman.
Hi, everybody.
And we have Gwen.
Howdy, y'all.
And today we're talking about how to spot a dusty. We have lots of tips for y'all. We have all the red flags. We can't wait to talk to y'all about that. But first, I would love to shout out our new Patreon VIP subscribers. Let's give a warm studio appreciation for Rach and Amy. Woo!
Yay!
Woo!
Yeah!
Thank you, Rach and Amy.
We're so happy that you're here, and we can't wait to have more of you join our Patreon. Remember, you can always join the free tier. You can always join the support-only tier, which is only a couple bucks a month, but helps us out immensely. And just please be sure that you get involved in that community because Gwen is going to be posting some write-ups and some blogs for y'all. We also have teaser blogs of our upcoming episodes. So we are very intentionally cultivating community over there and would love to have you all. And please remember to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen if you're able to do that, and give us a 5-star rating if you feel so inclined. Leave a review. Make sure you follow, share with your friends. If you're on Spotify, add it to a playlist, because all of that really helps our metrics, which we will need if we want to continue doing this. All right, now that spiel's over, let's have some tea. There's been so much going on this week, and it's honestly, I've had to cut some things even out as options to talk about because there's so much going on. I mean, Sabrina and Barry have broken up, which some of us saw coming from a mile away. We've got allegations out. We've got governments collapsing. We've got vigilante justice in the streets. Yeah, which is really...
That's my favorite story.
Okay, let's go. Let's dive into it.
Well, I don't know much, but apparently the guy is gotten caught.
The CEO, the adjuster, got busted, guys.
I'm not excited about that, actually.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I wanted him to get away.
I think it was a McDonald's employee that turned him in.
Really?
Boo.
Are you
Somehow that
serious?
makes it worse.
Oh,
Yeah. According
It's always
to
the people you least expect to scab. Like,
I
come
know.
on.
You would think that, like, I don't know, McDonald's workers of all people would have a little bit more like solidarity when it comes to
exactly.
this type of...
You would
Yeah,
think so.
But I
So-
mean, $10,000 is $10,000, y'all. That's the other thing.
That is
Oh,
so
I forgot all about
depressing.
that part.
Mhm.
To a McDonald's employee, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
That's how they get you.
True. So his name was Luigi, and his last name is Mangione, Mangione, is in custody at Luna, Pennsylvania, as a person of interest in connection with the brazen Midtown Manhattan murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last week. Mangione, a 26-year-old from Maryland, has been arrested by Luna police on unrelated gun charges, according to authorities. He was on a Greyhound bus traveling through Luna on Monday morning. Sources said when he got off and walked into a McDonald's where a witness recognized him from the images of the suspect circulated by police. Mangione was sitting and eating when a McDonald's employee reported him, and because of that, we believe we have a strong person of interest, New York City Mayor Eric Adams said at a news conference Monday. He matches the description of the person we are looking for. Mangione had a ghost gun. This guy gets sicker and sicker the more I read about him. Capable of firing 9mm round and a suppressor, police said. The gun and suppressor were consistent with the weapon used in the murder, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Teach said. The gun may have been made on a 3D printer, police said. Still,
Wow.
that's sick. Mangione also had a 3-page handwritten document that speaks to his motivation and mindset, Tish said. It does seem that he had some ill will toward corporate America, police said. Doesn't everyone, though?
Right.
To be quite honest, like at least at some percentage.
What if it's not him?
It seems like it.
Because it is either him or maybe they're just making this whole thing up just to make it seem like they caught the guy. Because they know that we don't have any way of really knowing. If you really think about it, we'll never know if, like, So I don't know.
Yeah, the handwritten document.
Yeah, like he just happened to have all of that on him. I just don't. It just sounds weird.
Yeah, like he had an untraceable gun. He had all these like, he left Monopoly money in the backpack. Like he had all these.
He wrote on the bullet casings, deny, defend, depose.
Yeah, and he had all these like FU things that he did, but then he's going to get caught up with a handwritten 3-page manifesto.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Okay, the article says Mangione also had multiple fake IDs with him, including a fake New Jersey ID matching the ID the suspect used to check into a hostel in New York City before the shooting, Tish said. Yeah, so like this just came across my feed, so I pulled it up, and because I just couldn't believe that they caught him. I don't know a single person in my life who isn't a victim of health insurance companies in America, because the reason why he wrote deny, delay, defend, or depose on the bullet casing is because that is a very common way that health insurance companies justify money. That's basically how they put money in shareholder pockets.
It's their business model.
So they deny your care, or they'll delay giving it to you by doing what's called a quote-unquote prior authorization. Mm-hmm. And that can take months to years to do anything, and that could possibly like dig your grave a little deeper for the longer it goes without, your treatment. And then also, if you were to die, or if you were to go to court and bring it up to them, they will defend why they didn't give you care because all this is cheaper than giving care to you.
Yeah.
And it seems outrageous, but like it depends on the amount of care. Like if you were a cancer patient, and chemo costs a lot of money, so that could be why that they just refuse to do it, because all that is still considerably cheaper than paying for continuous chemo.
Yeah, it's just absolutely heartless behavior. Like that's murderous behavior. How are you not murdering people when you do that? You say that people are supposed to pay into this so that their health insurance is covered. It's really that simple. And if their doctor says they need something, who are you to tell a doctor no? Who is an insurance adjuster, claims agent, to tell a doctor who went to medical school for like 12 years of their life that no, this patient doesn't actually need that? Exactly. I mean, that is insane. Like, what is the point of paying for insurance? Not to mention, people pay out of every single paycheck a considerable amount for their health care. And I mean, yeah, of course, the closer you are to a union or a federal job, the less expensive your health care is. But for people in like corporate jobs, they're paying, $500-$600 a month.
I know.
Out of their paychecks for insurance. And then on top of that, you have a deductible. So you have to pay like at least $2,000 to $5,000 in some cases of your own costs every year on top of that, which most people won't reach, which most people like, that's all they use, or like they're just forced to pay like $1,000 or $2,000 every year because they never reach their deductible. And then even when you do, they will just deny it. They'll be like, no, that actually wasn't necessary, even though your doctor said it was. It was necessary as long as you were paying out of pocket for it. But as soon as you stop, like now we're going to deny it because now it's our turn to pay as we promised. And it's like, how is it not enough that there's millions of people paying $500-$600 into these funds every single month? How is that not enough to cover everybody? And if it's not, then is this a good model? And should we be somehow financing it some other way? I don't know.
And did y'all see the one with the anesthesia? They were going
back. They were gonna let people wake up mid-operation. They were like, we're gonna cap the anesthesia. Like no matter what your weight or whatever is, like there's just a chance that you're gonna wake up on a damn operating table. And they wanted people to be cool with that.
I really don't understand. Like,
was that BCBS or which health insurance was that?
Blue Cross Anthem?
Yeah, it was Anthem. So Anthem, basically had that announcement and it went viral, and the comments were hilarious because like I was on Twitter whenever that whole thing went down, and they're like, has Anthem CEOs, checked the news lately? Like, exactly. Next.
And then they did back off on it.
Yeah, and it's like upon further deliberation.
Yeah. They lied and said, oh, it was they basically said they backtracked because it was misinformation. It was put out there wrong. I was like, nah, y'all got scared. Yeah. And then I also heard that these companies are taking their CEOs' names off the websites so that people don't know who they are. Yeah, the names or the pictures. Yeah, so that people can.
So they don't become a target.
Which, I mean, it's probably too late.
Probably too late.
I actually want them to be scared. And I think this is the only way. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but this is the only way for things to possibly change. That guy, Brian Thompson, it was either going to be him or somebody else. But either way, it turned out to be him. And it starts this conversation.
The reason why it was United Healthcare is because when somebody pulled up the statistics on the amount of claims that have been denied, they were among the highest.
By far.
They were the
by
highest.
far. And it was like a huge margin too. So yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember which insurance company was right under them, but they need to keep their head on the swivel too.
They were well under though. It was like 17%. And then here comes United and they are denying like 31% of claims.
I thought it was 53%.
53.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to check my facts on this, guys.
Yeah, there's a graph somewhere where I thought the one like right before didn't seem as egregious in comparison, but they're all egregious. The fact that any healthcare is being denied is crazy because that means somebody went to a doctor, got a professional opinion, got a prescription, got a treatment plan, and then the insurance company said no. Like, what the fuck is the point of you then?
And I'm also curious about the insurance companies that won't cover you if you already have pre-existing conditions.
Right. What does that mean?
By 2030, everybody in this country is going to have pre-existing health conditions because the food is like the air quality, everything.
Long COVID.
Yeah, everything is like everybody's going to be sick in some way, shape, or form. For the most part.
Well, that's why they wanted to set that precedent.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering. So then, if that's the case, they're going to set their own precedents to not exist. Because if everybody knows that the insurance companies most likely won't cover you, what will be the point in having insurance? Why pay $500 a month or whatever, or a week or per check, if you know there's a high chance that they're just going to deny you anyways, or delay it? There's a subreddit that I found out about this morning. And it's called "What is the dirtiest thing a health insurance company has done to you?" And people have been posting their stories.
I actually got a story if y'all want to hear it.
Yeah.
So a while back, and I was born with this condition where my autoimmune system does not recognize parts of my body or like certain external factors of the environment. So I lived in a bubble for the first like 10 or 12 years of my life. And I had to slowly but surely become acclimated to the world around me. Because I would just flare up and get allergic reactions and hives all over my entire body. It was a really painful existence for a lot of what I can remember about my childhood. My childhood was a lot of like hospital visits and doctor visits and specialists and all that stuff. Because of that medical history that I had, I was able to qualify to be a part of this guinea pig trial that had like human trials become available. So that way you could try to test this medication out. And if it's good, then it becomes on the market. So I signed up for this trial and of course it was successful. And it was actually the miracle cure that I've been looking for my entire life. It's actually called Dupixent. Oh, wow. And because I have severe life debilitating eczema, but that's only because it's caused by my white blood cells are like overproducing themselves. And so it prematurely bonds with that specific white blood cell, which is called the eosinophil. So that way, like it doesn't try to like grab onto anything else to cause a reaction in your body. So you're basically tricking your body into thinking that like, oh, you've already like taken care of the alien invaders. So it just becomes more functional and normal. And I thank God every day that medicine has become available. Well, because I was part of this trial, I had to get this card that says like, okay, you now are qualified to get this medication for free for the rest of your life. But I still have to fight my health insurance to get this because I still have to go through them in order to obtain it because it's a specialty type of medication. It's an injection. So it's like 2 syringes that come in a box every month or so. And I'm supposed to get it for free once a month for the rest of my life for however long I need it. But as long as I have health insurance, then I can get it. which that part never really made sense to me, but I've just been having to like go through the motions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So for the last like 7 years, I have to what I call stockpile my syringes. So because they come 2 in a box and I'm supposed to take it like bi-weekly, I actually just do them like once a month because sometimes like I have to kind of prepare and set them aside because the prior authorization process to get that taken care of takes anywhere between like 3 to 4 months.
Your medicine.
I have to ration my healthcare.
This is what they say socialism's gonna do, and yet here we are. This is a very capitalistic model.
That is.
Yep. So I've been having fun with that.
I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that.
That's okay. I'm very grateful that, you know, modern science is what it is. And I've been able to develop with modern science and become, you know, who I am today. And I'm a lot more grateful and very appreciative of what my body has overcome the last years of my life. And I'm able to see my 30s and live relatively pain-free because of that medication. So it's literally been such a game changer.
That's awesome.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, one of the real quick, one of the guys said that his mother or grandmother or someone needed insulin supplies, and they kept denying her.
The story's crazy.
Yeah, they kept denying her, and then something about they were waiting for something, and then after she died, the supplies came in the mail, and I guess the paper said something like the changes that have been made was her death, so now she can get the supplies. Did you hear that? Did you hear that story?
Yes.
I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's how low down and dirty these companies are.
And I also heard this one woman who had sarcoma in her hip. And this is United Healthcare, by the way. This is one of the first lawsuits that I heard about through them. This woman who's like already a mother of her kids and whatnot, and she had this pain in her hip. She got it, you know, checked out, and turns out it was cancer, and it had gone like 3 or 4 months worth of like a prior authorization, and by that time that it got approved, well, the cancer metastasized, and it's already affected the rest of her hip, and they had to amputate her whole leg.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and that would not have happened had they just approved of it and cleared it in the first place to get it taken care of, because it's cancer. Like, why wouldn't you take care of that immediately? Like, that's a crisis situation. Like, you need to take care of that type of cancer.
I don't understand why stuff costs so much to begin with. Like, I don't...
Well, because that's how they make money. I was going to say earlier when you were saying, like, you know, why would people pay like $500 or $600 per paycheck just to be like, quote unquote, covered, maybe, is because the alternative is you get a literal $1 million bill to your house and you have to pay it off, and you can't like go bankrupt on medical debt. Like, you can't declare bankruptcy on medical debt.
But now I understand why people toyed with the bankruptcy. When I was coming up, a lot of people I knew got everything that they wanted, and then they filed for bankruptcy. That way they didn't have to pay for anything. And
well, that's actually biblical.
I totally get why people do that. Like, now I get it. Like,
no, the Bible literally says like after 7 years, everyone's debt and like interest and everything is forgiven every 7 years.
Wow.
So people literally did used to live like that. Like, just be like, all right, every 7 years, just wipe everybody's slate clean. Like, if they didn't pay it, like, whatever. And it's like, we more than ever should be able to live like that now, because a lot of people do. That's what bankruptcy is, basically. But they just make you go through all these extra like steps and stuff.
The steps is worth it if you ain't got to pay a ridiculous $1 million or $200,000 medical bill. What the...
And this is why almost I feel like I think that it's no wonder people are so radicalized. And I feel like if the suspect hadn't been quote unquote caught, you know, quickly and dealt with, then people would have been more likely to do some shit themselves. Like, I don't know. I feel like they wanted just to have somebody to be like, no, if you do this, you will get caught.
Yeah, they had to use him as an example.
So Gwen, I know you said you were going to sort of gloss over the French government collapse.
Sure. So France's government collapsed, and I literally just found out about this yesterday, and I was supposed to kind of read more about it, but I had to do a bunch of other shit, so I didn't get around to it. But what I wanted to say is that I've gotten some positive feedback on some of my nerdy moments on economics, so I figured I I could do a little like think piece on it, and that will be available in our VIP section of our Patreon. So now we have a little bit more to look forward to. Yay! Because we don't have our merch out yet, but when that comes, those will be some goodies coming out soon for y'all.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, so I'll post the breakdown on our Patreon. So
awesome.
Subscribe.
Thank you. I can't wait to read it. So my tea this week, and I just want to go over it because we just so happened to be talking about trad wives last week. But my tea this week is that I can't help you pay the mortgage this month trend.
That. Yeah.
And there has been, and I just want to like...
Is Ryan laughing?
I don't know that he's seen it. He's not on TikTok very much. But maybe
I thought I heard him laughing in the background when you said that.
But yeah, it's so there's been this trend on TikTok where wives have been coming up to their husbands and saying like, hey, just so you know, I can't help you pay the mortgage this month. And the reason that they're doing this is because their husband already pays the mortgage and like they don't have to worry about bills. So basically it's been this funny trend where the guy's like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, did you get another house? Like, what mortgage? Do you know who her mortgage is through? Do you know how to spell the word mortgage? Like, and all these wives are like, no. And they're like, no, I don't. And which I love that for them, for the record. I really do. And on the other hand, there's been, somebody came out and said, this trend is cute and everything, but I really want to see the 50-50 couples do this trend. And so then we got a couple of those. And let's just say the difference was very striking. And I just want to sort of open up like a very quick discussion because I know we've had a lot of tea already, but there's been a lot going on. But I just found it interesting, like the kind of narratives that people started running with like after that trend. And it seemed like a lot of people split off into different camps of like, well, you should never depend on a man, which I wholly agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But me personally, I also don't think you should pay the bills. Like, if you're living with a man, you should still make your own money and he should pay the bills. So I just want to come out and publicly state my opinion because there was some confusion on my TikTok about like, oh, you like don't think women should work. I think women should work. And I think that money should be theirs. There's an old Slavic saying that goes, his money is our money and my money is my money. And I live by that.
Amen.
And I just want to say that the only reason that, the 50-50 couples came off in the trend looking, we're talking about how to spot a dusty today. And this is basically, that trend was very exemplary in that, right? Because a lot of these women came to their 50-50 boyfriend saying, hey, I can't pay my half of the rent or mortgage this month. And the guys were clueless. They were like, oh, well, I guess I'll help pack our stuff then. I guess.
What?
Yeah. They were like, can you ask for an extension? Like, well, I don't know what you want me to say.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they were pretty bad. And I couldn't, as usual, it's kind of hard to believe that some women would watch some of this stuff back and like still post it. But I also think it speaks to the delusional state that a lot of women do live in, right? Because they're like, oh no, he's just being funny. He's not, he just has a dry sense of humor. And I found it so disappointing because like, at the same time that people are like, well, you shouldn't depend on a man and all this stuff, which I totally agree. But it's also like it's also concerning when you can't depend on a man that you live with and that you share your body with and that risks getting you pregnant every single month and wants to go 50-50 in on bills. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
You are not, at that point to me, that's fine if you want to do that as a man. But you have to also be very viscerally aware, and I don't think a lot of men or women are viscerally aware of this, but I don't know how to say this politely, and we may have to cut this, I don't know, but a penis is life-threatening to a woman.
Facts.
Like, your penis can ruin somebody's life. Okay, Ryan says it's okay. Thank you. So it's like, it makes sense that as a man, if you want to do that with somebody, you would just have a little bit more decorum about that, right? Or you would have a plan, or you would have, some sort of like an investment strategy with that, because otherwise you are leaving your partner kind of high and dry. If like something were to happen, if like literally you two are faced with bringing a new life into this world, especially now when there's a lot of states that won't even let you make that choice as a woman. You're going to have to bring that life forth. And so a man who is trying to split bills with you because he can't afford to pay all the bills, or because he's spending his money on God knows what, because that's my other question. Where's your money, sir? You don't have to do anything. But anyways, that man is not like mating material, right? Like you should not be putting yourself, that man is roommate material.
Yeah.
Right? You want to go 50-50, that's fine. But you cannot support a child or a woman with child who is having like life-threatening conditions, right? I've known personally several women that have had to go on bed rest immediately like after getting pregnant because they got hypermesis gravitorium with it. And literally the doctor was like, you have to quit your job. You have to just lay on the couch, and you like the only thing you're going to be doing for the next 9 months is throwing up exorcist style several times a day, no matter what you try to eat, no matter what you try to do.
And losing teeth.
And losing all sorts of nutrients, because if you're throwing up, yeah, exactly. So like your bones are going to be brittle after that and all that. And if you're going 50-50 with a man who would also be like, oh, wait, you can't pay the mortgage, you can't pay the rent, well, I guess we're going to have to move out. Two things can be true at once, right? You shouldn't depend on a man, but also if you are going to be with a man who wants to do all of that with you, who wants to do baby making activities with you, and all you're doing is using preventatives, right? Like birth control, condoms, all that. Like y'all don't have your reproductive systems like removed, or you're not operating exclusively without that possibility, right? Which most men are not willing to do, which most men wouldn't date you if that's what you wanted to do. If you said, no, for splitting bills, like you can't do that. Like you can't do things that would possibly even get me pregnant. Most men wouldn't be interested in that. And it's also like, if you, as a man, like if you want to split rent, why don't you do it with another man?
I know
because I know why. Exactly. We all know why. Exactly, because another man's not going to cook for you, clean for you. You're not going to benefit off another man. You can't be a parasite.
Yep.
You'd have to like carry your own weight or whatever. And so that's why I just feel like two things can be true at once. I feel like women don't have to depend on a man, but a man who really loves you, like it comes down to like the fundamental selfishness of it, right? A man who's not investing in you in that way, a man who can't see the inherent unfairness of everything you have to go through every day as a woman, and like the way that you are expected to do things that he would never ever be expected to do, like skincare, wardrobe, hair care, makeup, all this stuff. You're spending money on that and you really have no choice. Because a lot of men will say, well, just don't do that. Don't wear that stuff. Don't wear makeup. Okay. Would you date me then if I didn't?
Nope.
Do you still want me to come, no hair products, no makeup, no skincare to your holiday, to your work Christmas party?
Exactly.
You want to do that?
Yeah. Hairy legs and armpits.
Hairy legs and armpits, because I'm not going to pay for waxing, because I'm not going to pay for razors, none of that. Okay. So then like you've answered your own question. So no, I can't do that. And it's like, what are you, as a man, like, what are you spending your money on? I'm so sorry, but like, what are you spending your money on?
I totally agree. Do you remember, I want to say it was like if it wasn't last year, it was probably 22, where Gabrielle Union came out and said that she splits the money, or splits the bills with Dwayne Wade. And the reason why she decided to do that was because one time he made a comment like, this my house. And she said it made her feel, I can't remember the word she used, but she said it made her feel like she wasn't contributing, or that it was his, so she didn't have a say-so over certain things, whatever. And she said from that moment forward, she wanted to contribute because she never wanted to feel like that again moving forward. And I understood where she was coming from, but I'm still kind of like 50-50 on that thought process. It's like, I get it and I totally understand that because I've been there with that same exact mindset. But then the other side of that is, well, if I feel that way, then I might as well just live by myself. I don't fucking need you.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like...
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, a man who could and would say that to you, it's just like, that's not it. That's not the man for you. If he wants to flex, this is my house. When you have birthed his children, when you have supported him, supported his career, taken hits on your own, and, you know, everything that you have to keep up with, like, I don't know. I just think that's a little weird.
He's not the man for her because a few years ago, she said that she would not choose him now. If she met him, like now that she's older and more mature or whatever, she would never have chosen him. And I was like, are they going through something? Because why would you say that out loud?
Right.
But, you know, that's a whole nother topic. But most people think that Dwayne Wade is on the down low anyways. So maybe that could be part of it. But that's a whole nother topic. But I can understand if that was true. I can understand why she would be like, no, now that I know that, I probably would have. Yeah. But that might not, I'm just speculating.
But it also might be the fact that he's the kind of man that would be like, this is
throw
my
that
house.
in her face. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, that is ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. That is absolutely ridiculous. Especially that, didn't he have children from another marriage coming into this? So it's like, that's somebody who has loved your children. Like, you can't hold that stuff over their head. Like, that is crazy, especially once again as a man. Like, I've seen Gabrielle Union go on a show about like house decorating or whatever, and she made some comment like they took her to this place to like pick out a couch, and the couches were kind of expensive, and she was like, "Oh, I don't make this kind of money. You know, I'm a Black actress, like in Hollywood. Like, where is that? We got to go to Target, you know." And it's like, you make so much more money, Dwayne, than her. Like, you know, just objectively, like, you're getting paid like NBA money.
But she also said that Dwayne Wade is very irresponsible with money. She said she's never seen him like balance a checkbook. She's never seen him be responsible with money. So that's like, a whole nother double whammy. Right? Yeah. That's a whole nother issue.
It's like that's the thing you run into with a 50-50 man time after time. That's what I'm saying. Like, what is he spending his money on? Men do not need to spend their money on that much. Even if they have an expensive hobby, even if they have all this stuff, they can still afford, like most times they can still afford to like save up money on top of that. If they're living alone or with a roommate, like they are definitely not like hurting for cash if all they have to do is take care of themselves or pay a damn mortgage, which they'd have to do anyway.
I totally agree with that part. You would literally would be doing this if you were single. So it's like, make her life easier. She's coming along. She's most likely cooking. She's giving you her body. She's having your children. She's making the house a home. She's reminding you of your doctor's appointments. Otherwise, you would die.
Labor.
Yeah, she's doing everything. So it's like, why not pay
especially
the mortgage?
Post kids? You can't ever ask that woman for anything again. Like, I'm sorry, that's not your place. You can't ever repay that. That's a life-threatening. You can't put a price on a life. And somebody risked their life to have your children. Like, that would be crazy to me. I could never say no to somebody after that for anything.
People forget that a lot of women used to die during childbirth. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
And that was, like, normal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was like a 50-50 chance that you would or would not survive.
Yeah, and so it's like when you... Exactly. So when you talk about 50-50, I would just like to ask those men, like, what 50% of the childbirth are you going to do?
Which part of the pregnancy are you going to carry?
Yeah. Yeah. Which part of the C-section are they going to cut you apart for? Which part of the breastfeeding are you going to do? Which part, it's like, get the F out of here. It's crazy. It's a crazy conversation to be having, especially in this day and age. Like, crazy.
When there are kids involved, especially, there is no such thing as 50-50.
Exactly.
When the moment you have kids with a guy, there is no 50-50. Because it's never going to be 50-50 for you. It's going to be more like 80-20 or 90-10 because you are going to be the one that's the primary caregiver of those kids. Guys are going to just do their
Default
hobbies and kick back and with a beer and watch the game when they come home from work, if they work, right? So you're going to be responsible for everything. So it's never you can't have a job, be a wife, be a mother, be a homemaker, and all of that, and then still have to pay half?
Mm-hmm.
What part of the game is that? Like, so
that's insulting.
I would never. I would fucking never.
Yeah. So it's like, if you're doing all that and your man is like, oh, I just think it's only fair that we go 50-50, throw him in the trash. Like, you're better off on your own.
Gross.
50-50 men are using you as a placeholder. Even if he's married
as
to
a host,
you are a placeholder.
Yes.
Point blank period.
Second that.
Well, this transitions so perfectly into our main segment, which is on how to spot a dusty. And we'll be right back after this break to talk to you all about those red flags and signs to look out for.
And we're back. So I made this list actually a couple nights ago, and I didn't realize, but I made at least like 50 red flags and
they're all great.
and 31 green flags. So unfortunately, there's like a lot more red flags than green flags as far as I know. But yeah, when I put it on Patreon, y'all can feel free to add and subtract and make it your own. But for now, I have asked a few of my friends who have dealt with insane relationships in the past and what they would consider some red flags. So shout out to one of my friends, Tori, for helping me add to this list.
Shout out to
Hell yeah, some field research. I love it.
Yeah.
I just want to throw in too, before we get too deep into this, that we may not have time to cover all the green flags as well. So we may have to have a separate episode for that.
All right. So for our red flags, starting out, we have red flag number 1. You met him on a dating site. Look, dating sites are a humiliation ritual at this point. Like after 2020, just get off.
Facts.
Because with dating sites, I feel like it's the easiest way that men have ever had in generations previous to get laid. So it's already attracting some of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to like matches. And dating sites, at one point used to be great, but let's face it, that's just not our reality today.
Facts.
So dating sites are just the worst place to find a match. So I would say for a more like romantic interest, just try, expanding your social circle a bit, asking to meet friends of friends, going to mixers, going to events.
Hobby spaces.
And going to like volunteering spaces too. So just branching out a little bit out of your comfort zone and meet people that way too.
Absolutely.
And red flag number 2, his clothes look stained, torn, have holes, or his hair is greasy, or just signs of poor hygiene in general, while you look immaculate, because it shows little to no effort in impressing you.
Yep.
So if you showing up to this date and he just looks disheveled and like he just rolled out of bed and like showed up to wherever y'all are having dinner at, and it's just so...
He's going to ruin your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And do not for one second, please think that, oh, he has potential though. Oh, I can fix him
Please
though.
don't do that.
Well, if I just, told him what haircut to get, and like you start putting together a Pinterest board in your head of like how you're going to make this guy, stop that.
Not
That's
the
free
Pinterest
labor.
board.
He should be paying somebody for that. He should be paying
not a
somebody
charity
to put,
case.
exactly. He's not a
He's
charity
a
case,
grown man.
and you are not a charity.
Absolutely.
And you're not a rehab facility either.
Yeah. And I love that you said it shows little to no effort in impressing you, because that is the biggest thing you should look out for, is that he wants to set the standard low to begin with. He's coming out, and this is like the most dangerous thing to overlook. And I feel like so many women overlook, and you'll see this pattern in a lot of the red flags, is that it will be the reddest of red flags. And women will be like, yeah, but that's okay, right? Because we see this kind of behavior in movies and TV shows and all this kind of stuff. This is how a man is supposed to treat me, right? And it's like, no, it's not okay for a man to be dirty, disheveled, have holes in his clothes, all that stuff. If you are not matching that energy, that's not the man for you. That's the red flag. Like, the red flag is that he came out like that, knowing what you look like, knowing what your dating profile looks like, etc. He came out in his worst. Like, He's not dressed to the nine. Yeah, he didn't even try. And that's how the rest of your relationship is going to go. And he's going to expect you to be okay with that.
Yep.
Exactly. So red flag number 3, he asks you to go to his place before you're even comfortable, like second date type shit. He only texts you past sundown, and it's usually like 3 or 4 words max, like you up. Maybe
what
like
you
an
doing?
eggplant emoji and like a smiley face,
Hey,
winky
big head.
face, something.
Yeah.
Red flag number 4, he only asks you to go on cheap dates like coffee or walks. And some girls are cool with that, but I personally think it shows low effort if it's from someone who is supposedly interested in you. So a man that really wants you, even if he's broke, like he will find a way to pull out all the stops and impress you.
Absolutely.
And make sure you think about this date for the rest of your lives. Like it's supposed to be really good for a first date.
Exactly. And I can definitely testify to that because I met my husband when we were both 19, and he was very impressive with the dates, even though they weren't like the most lavish or outrageously expensive, but he had an income. But it still would just be like a day of adventure. Like he would be really thoughtful about like, let's take a ferry here, like romanticize the outing. And you don't have to spend that much money. Just do something fun like that, like take a ferry or take like some other way of getting there, or just make sure you plan a fun activity or look up a cute coffee shop and bring games and bring other things. Like make it more of an effort. That way it's not like you're just not trying to impress somebody at all. Like it doesn't have to be done with money. Well, like depending on how old you are too, I think. Yeah.
And to that
point, I also think if you're like 30 years old, please do not just try to impress somebody by taking them on a ferry and that's it. Or like taking them to like a coffee shop and like playing games. Like that's not that impressive. But from if you are on the younger side, like, and the guys that you are looking to date are maybe genuinely and rightfully broke because they're in college or whatever, just know that the effort can still be made. Absolutely can still be made without spending $100 or $200.
And real quick, one of the things that guys will say to justify this is, well, I'd rather just take her on a coffee date because if it don't turn out to be anything or it doesn't work out, I wouldn't have wasted my money for nothing.
Oh,
because I've heard plenty of guys use that excuse. And some women would be like, oh, well, I mean, I get that. I understand. He didn't want to waste his money. No, because he's showing you right now what kind of, he's transactional and he's showing you what kind of man he is. So don't fall for that.
Yes. And also, if you are going to do that, just make sure that you match the energy. Once again, as I always say, just do $5 worth of makeup and hair and clothes and all that. And be that nice. Like, be as transactional. I'm just saying. And see how they like it. Because why would you get dressed to the nines, so put on a full face, do all your makeup, spend an hour, you know, like how much, think about it. How much do you get paid at work, right? However many dollars an hour, it's more than $5. That's the minimum wage. Like the minimum wage is more than $5. And this man is not even willing to pay that much for you to spend like an hour or so getting ready and traveling there and all that. And he's like,
he's just taking you to the park.
Yeah. He's taking you to the damn park. And all he had to do was roll off the couch and put his controller away.
Exactly.
Like, that's crazy.
I've definitely been in situations where I got all dressed up for nothing. So that's not a good feeling. Yeah. Well, we're going where? Oh, you want to go hang out at your friend's house? No, we were supposed to go to dinner. We were supposed to do this. We were supposed to do that. I got all cute. Don't fall for it, ladies. Just don't do it. If you got all dressed up and he's like, let's go to the park or let's go for coffee, I don't know. Ghost him, change your mind, whatever you got to do. But that's just not a good sign.
Call the girls.
Yeah. Have a girls' night out. Call the girls and last minute something. Last minute drinks with the girls or something.
Take some pictures.
So your makeup won't go to waste. Okay, go ahead, Gwen. Sorry.
Post it on a story. No, it's okay. And then red flag number 5. I'm just gonna glaze over this because we already covered this. But like, if he says you pay your half, I pay mine. If it's like 50-50 situation, that's gross. So pass.
I feel like we spent a lot of time on that, but yes, gross.
And going on to number 6, he's very dismissive of feminine issues like safety. or is grossed out by periods as a grown man. So very willfully ignorant on how a woman's body works, or just basically what women kind of like go through. And I mean willfully ignorant. Like he won't even
want to
entertain the conversation. Yeah. And he'll just dismiss you anytime you talk about like, you know, women's worst fear on a first date is that, you know, he's going to be a serial killer.
Right.
But then for a man's worst fear is that like you're going to be fat or you're not going to match your pictures. You're going to be like a catfish. Like that's his worst fear. And so when you talk about that kind of stuff, he will just like roll his eyes or just be like, oh, women these days and blah, 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 and just go on this like misogynistic tirade about it. Well, you already have your answer and you can just cut the date short there. Honestly, that I would.
Facts.
I would just be like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and then dip out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because they want you to know.
Uber.
Because don't they want you to know exactly how their penis works? Like, would they be with you if you didn't know how their anatomy worked down there?
That's such a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Red flag number 7. He says, "I'm a feminist." Girl, that's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Every
Red
time.
flag.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he says he's a feminist, it's always kind of used against you. Where again, it goes back to that like 50-50 thing where it's like, I believe in a woman's right to pay for her own things.
Yeah.
So that way they can kind of live life on easy mode.
Yeah, and have
on
sex
that.
with anyone she wants.
Or like have like sex liberation and everything like that. So yeah. So which brings me to red flag number 8. It's like if he says sex work is work or sex work is a career / job, it's a red flag. He's a porn addict. 9 times out of 10. Like he doesn't care about, you know, sex workers and their like right to have like healthcare or safety or anything like that. Like he's just more or less kind of leaning on towards like the access of it.
Yeah,
and
he wants to justify what he's doing and the money that he's spending. But
he wants to pretend that the porn he watches is really consensual and that these women consented to every little act, despite the woman being, you know, in tears and being violated 12 ways to Sunday. And he wants to say to your face, like, that looks empowering. We should do something like that. We should recreate that. Like that's a porn addict, sweetie.
Yes, exactly. And I know that these, you know, previous 2 points seem kind of like counterintuitive because, you know, a lot of us have kind of learned the hard way about these things, but it really is true. If somebody feels the need to always say and like grandstand about how good of a person they are and how they would never do X and Y, or how they're such a, you know, feminist or such an ally, like anybody who's grandstanding in that, it just wants recognition for themselves. Like they also want to like sort of clear themselves of any blame, right? Because then when you come to them and say like, hey, you did something that made me feel unsafe, I don't agree with this, whatever, they'll be like, no, I couldn't have possibly done that because I'm a feminist and I would never do that. And so it's like, well, that just seems like a get out of jail free card a lot of the time for people. And I'm not saying people can't be genuine with it, or I'm not saying like some men like thought they were doing something and like, you know, we're doing it from like a good place. But at the same time, it's just like at this point in this day and age, we should all know to just not grandstand about that. Like even if you're a good guy, like for real, you still like at this point, it's not helpful to go around telling women like, oh, I'm a feminist and like whatever. It's like, say that to other men. Say that in rooms full of men that you're a feminist. Okay, say that when there's board meetings being held without women and you're allowed in and women are not. Say that, be a feminist when men try to take credit for women's ideas at work. Yeah. Say, be a feminist when it's time to actually do anything good for women or stand up for women. Because a lot of dudes will be like, oh, I'm a feminist. And it's like, okay, well, what have you done for a woman lately? Absolutely what have you done to, yeah, exactly. So.
And they'll just use that as a way because they think that's what women want to hear. So if they say, oh, I'm a feminist, they think the girls is going to be like, oh, he's one of the good guys.
I think it's a panty dropper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Like same with the guys who like paint their fingernails. Again, in this day and age, it's like if you're painting your fingernails and that's like your entire personality, you're probably not a safe person.
Absolutely.
Ran through. He ran through. So that's...
He's for the streets.
Yeah. Yes.
When he tries to challenge gender roles, but it's like wearing eyeliner and painting his nails and not, doing the dishes or vacuuming or sorting the lights from the darks in the laundry. Like, come on.
That shit would never work on me. I am not attracted to men who wear more makeup than me or anything like that. That would never work on me. I would never look. It's a whole nother topic. I never understood the allure of Prince. That just made me think of Prince, for an example. But whatever.
Okay, but he pulled it off. Like
he
did,
really but I still wouldn't have never been attracted. Women were like going crazy over makeup and then with the nails. I mean,
women
not the nails, the heels.
They still do. I mean, we lived through the emo phase, right? Like we had that. David Bowie was that. I think a lot of women, that is what it is. A lot of women think that they're a safe man because they put on makeup. And it's like, no, none of these people were a safe man. Like Prince was not a nice person. David Bowie was not a nice person. Also had sex with a 13-year-old. I mean, sorry, I should say raped a 13-year-old or something. Like all of that is documented. Yeah.
My brain automatically goes to this is not a safe person. A man in makeup is automatically not a safe person to me. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Because that's like the last gender role that you should be challenging as a man. Like that's an easy one, you know, or like if you're in the right company, that's an easy one to challenge. But again, like Gwen said, if you're not doing the dishes, if you're not actually like trying to share the mental load, but you're only doing the stuff that gets you accolades and gets like bisexual women going, like okay, great. Like
it just feels disingenuous and performative. Like
in a disclaimer, I'm not saying all men that wear makeup or whatever. I'm saying like as far as dating them goes, like because I don't want any LGBT guys to hear this and think that I'm against, you know, men wearing makeup or whatever. But I'm saying as far as dating them, like I'm not dating you.
Yeah.
Which I would think they wouldn't want to date me either. So I'm not talking about those guys, if that makes sense. Okay.
So red flag number 9. This is actually kind of my favorite one. Doesn't want to talk about politics or ethics. Probably because he's embarrassed to be a Republican, or he tries to play devil's advocate, or both sides, or I'm moderate, or like I'm in the center. This shows low or no empathy, selfishness, and cowardice because he can't say what he really means with his whole chest.
Yeah.
So usually like Bumble used to have this setting to where you could see their political affiliation. So like underneath politics or whatever, it would say like liberal or conservative or moderate. And usually when they put moderate, it just means conservative, but with a mask on because they were... they wanted to try, or they would try to play like both sides if you wanted to talk about it on a date, but then you ask kind of like what their opinion is on like,
I'm not really into politics.
I don't know, something boring like the national debt, for instance, and it's always, it sounds really conservative, or he finds a way to like talk about something just egregious and just, it sounds something Ben Shapiro would talk about, just it just gives you the ick. It makes your skin crawl. So I would not ignore that gut feeling if he doesn't want to talk about politics or ethics, or he just kind of abstains, that's a red flag.
Or even if he says I'm not really into politics, that is also a code that guys are using to cover up the fact that they're most likely a conservative, and they just don't want they don't want to ruin their chances of getting with you, so they'll just say, "Oh, I'm not really into politics." But a lot of them are, and they're just lying. So just make sure their words and their actions match, basically.
Exactly. You're into politics regardless. I just want to say, if you live on this earth, you are into politics. You're affected by politics. No matter which way you vote.
Look away.
Yeah. And if you don't vote, you're even worse. But you're definitely involved in politics.
Definitely.
So
I agree.
And red flag number 10, he treats staff, pets, and children like dog shit. So he's very disrespectful of like the wait staff, or he thinks dogs should only stay outside, or children don't deserve like respect, because men sometimes whenever they don't like children, it's coming from a place of like respect equals authority.
Yes.
So it puts you like respect for them just looks like a hierarchy system. It's not like the golden rule form of respect where it's like treat others the way you would want to be treated. So I just think that's a huge red flag.
Very well said.
Number 11, no relationship with his mom or family. I kind of put this as a beige flag because sometimes like maybe he's an orphan, or maybe like his mom is like a drug addict, or she's done something in his life that he just
I was going to say,
like
some moms
contact.
can be very toxic.
Yeah. Some moms, yes, are very toxic. So I've kind of put that as a beige flag. So it's just kind of something you can look out for. But it's a red flag if he can like only talk shit about his mom. Like his mom is maybe still in or out of his life, but he just only shits on her and doesn't care about her, and it just looks really gross. No matter what this woman has done, like that's still kind of your mother. You can kind of tell tell the other person like what she's done to make you not want to talk to her ever again. Like what was the last straw, but doesn't kind of drag on from there and doesn't dogpile on her. Just kind of live and let live about it. That's a lot more emotionally intelligent in my opinion. So that's why it's kind of a beige flag.
Yeah, and also just like not trauma dumping, because a lot of guys will like say all this stuff to you like right when they first meet you. They'll be like, "Oh, my mom is such a bitch," like, and my ex is such a bitch, and like this friend I used to have is such a bitch. Like, oh my god.
Or all his exes are crazy. That's another.
Yes,
that's another
especially that quote right there. All my exes were crazy, or like, oh, she was crazy, so we broke up, and like doesn't elaborate past that point, like what made her crazy. So, but if that happens, you're about to find out.
Yeah.
just
you are
know.
not going to be the exception. I promise you that. You're not going to be the one that changes his mind about women or exes or anything like that. Like you're just going to be one in a long line.
Absolutely.
Red flag number 12. Doesn't introduce you to his friends or family. Doesn't mention you on social media. Doesn't have any women friends at all. So that always strikes me as kind of odd, because it doesn't always suggest that they live like a double life, although sometimes it does, especially if it comes to social media. But if they don't have any like female friends at all, it just goes to show that like you don't really you don't have anything in common with women at all, not even a little, like even as your coworkers, or even if it's like somebody you associate with, like
or grew up with,
a neighbor, just somebody in your life that, isn't your mom or like a blood relation to you, that you've kind of like come to know. Like it seems weird. It's very, very weird when they don't have like any female friendships at all.
And it also could be that all their female friends that they did have all saw him as creepy. So that's another thing. Like maybe, do y'all think a guy that's a perpetual friend zoner, is that a red flag? A guy that's in everybody's friend zone.
Oh,
like no woman ever takes them seriously. They're always in the friend zone. I don't know either. I just wonder what y'all think.
It's a case by case basis.
I would say if that's how he presents it, I would say be very wary of men who use even the term friend zone. That is just called a friend. You psychopaths. Nobody is friend zoning you. What the hell is wrong with you? Right? Isn't that crazy? You've been friend zoned. Like, you made a friend. That's what that's called. Like,
I totally agree.
You psychopath.
Amen. Red flag number 13. If he's homophobic. Period.
That's
just
it.
at all.
You don't really need to.
Doesn't need to be elaborated. Self-explanatory. Red flag number 14. If he's pushy with your boundaries or doesn't take no for a straight up answer.
Oh yeah.
So like anytime he says like, oh, stay, and you're like, no, I have to work in the morning, and he just kind of like is really pushing and just seeing how much and how far he can get away with it.
It's compliance testing for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Very much.
He's a habitual line stepper.
Yes. And that, I think also a lot of women, I just want to focus on this because a lot of women mistake that love bombing stage for
persistence.
Persistence, like love, like, oh, he just can't keep himself away from me. Like, girl, no. He's just putting in all the work that he's ever going to do in this relationship up at the very front so that you can never question him again. That's all that he's doing, because this kind of shit is not sustainable, not, healthy, living together basically like a week after you meet and like spending like these copious amounts of time together, like staying up all night, talking, texting. None of that is sustainable. And that's not how you should get to know someone if you ever want to make a rational decision about them. And a lot of men know this. That's why they try to catch you up in these whirlwinds of like, no, don't leave, just stay here. Oh, come here straight after work. Oh, say cancel on your friends because I want to see you. Oh, I don't want to spend time. I'm going to be sad because we're not hanging out tonight. And it's like, it's one thing to say stuff like that jokingly, but if he actually expects you to follow through on it, that's crazy. And like, if he keeps pushing boundaries, like, I get that you want to spend a lot of time with the person that you're romantically interested with, romantically involved with. I know we also get that message from society a lot that if you don't, then you're not in love or whatever. But it's also like at a certain point, they're still a stranger to you. You're a week into this, 2 weeks into this, a month into this person is still a perfect stranger. And it's like I've ended friendships with people, you know, in that amount of time. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's like a lot if there's just so much in the very beginning that you're like he's just pushing boundaries on like time and like making you like late for work or like calling out of work. Like all those things are going to affect you down the road and you're going to be sad that you did all that for a man who is going to like slowly fade all of this out or quickly.
Usually quickly.
Mhm.
Red flag number 15, believes in misandry because being a man is hard. Boo-hoo. But thinks misogyny isn't real because women get into clubs for free, and he doesn't get the man versus bear argument.
Oh my God. A man who doesn't understand the man versus bear argument, run. Please run.
Missed the whole assignment.
Oh, men like that. Oh my God.
They intentionally missed the plot on purpose. So red flag number 16, dumps all his trauma on you while on dates to try and gain sympathy or pity.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you didn't have this one, huh? Yeah, the trauma dumping is terrible. And so many men do it so quickly. Like, even over text message, or like they just start. I've seen screenshots from like dating sites where they just start telling you their whole fucking life story. Like, sir, we haven't even met face to face. Like, how are you just out here on the internet telling everybody your life story? That's crazy.
A lot of guys do that because they know the nature of women, and they know that there are a lot of women out there that are going to take pity on them or be empathetic and say, oh, you know, and they also know a lot of women want to be that woman that changes a guy.
This is so true.
Or that can be a good influence. So they use that as bait. They use it as a manipulative tactic to like get you to like lure you in, you know, so that you can take pity on him. And then if you feel like you're helping him, he can get so much out of you. Whatever he's trying to get out of you, he'll succeed at it because you are investing in him emotionally and then mentally and then financially and then, you know what I mean? So it's all a tactic that they use.
How right you are. Yes.
Yes. I want to take this moment, though, to also tell women to similarly do not trauma dump on your dates with men because they will just use that against you. Yeah. They will.
Every time.
Or they will try and find a way to make it about your trauma. And it's just a way for them to gain control over you. So definitely. And in fact, if you ask, you know, what made you in your last relationship kind of fizzle out or it didn't work out, kind of word it like an HR email. Like, oh, we just kind of had different interests or we decided
we were
to go
not compatible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely. Even if it was the worst trauma, like breakup experience of your entire life.
Don't tell him.
Like this man left you destitute on the side of the road or something. Like, do not tell this man unless you know absolutely 100% you can trust him and you're like maybe a year into the relationship. You can kind of like slowly phase that in. But right at the front, do not put all your cards on the table.
And you're going to some women are going to be tempted to do that because you think that men think the way we do. A lot of women think that a man is going to be like, oh, you've gone through that? I don't want to be that guy. That man did that to you? Oh, I would never do that to you. Nope, that's not how men think. They're looking at it like, oh, if she let him get away with it, then I wonder what she'll let me get away with. So please do not fall for that. I know how women think. Don't fall for it. It's not going to work. It may work with another woman, but it's not going to work with guys.
Amen. So red flag number 17, enjoys red pill content like Tate, Gaines, like Myron Gaines, or the Whatever podcast on YouTube. That's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody by now has heard of Andrew Tate and all of his bullshit. And same thing with like the Fuentes boy and all that shit. But definitely screen for that. Because, I mean, they're immediately not going to tell you that that's what they like or that's what they're
Kevin
into.
Samuels.
It would have to be like in a moment when his guard is down and maybe he's got his phone open and he's like gone somewhere and you just kind of scroll through it. Or eventually whenever you go over to his house and he leaves his YouTube open, go to his YouTube and go into his like subscribed part, his history, and see if you can find anything to do with red pill content. Because like it's not going to be, you know, upfront because they know by now that that's like women hate that shit. So they're definitely not going to play that hand immediately.
So true.
But maybe we'll have like a whole episode about how to tell whether or not, this person that you're interested in is a red pillar or not, or has consumed it at some point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll actually have Lisa help do a deep dive on that because she's been in that red pill manosphere doing that research.
Undercover.
Under the Lord, like doing the Lord's work for us on that. She has infiltrated some manosphere spaces that I think is important for women to hear, what they say about us on these
I want to hear more about this.
blogs and yeah.
We will after December, because this December we are freezing those losers out. And we're not talking about them and we're not giving them any of our attention.
Yeah.
But eventually, yes, I will absolutely, because it is very sneaky, but it's actually very easy to tell once you know all the tells.
Exactly. And they'll be easy to spot. Red flag number 18. He knows porn stars or OnlyFans girls by name and follows them.
Oh, yeah.
Red flag number 19. He says his exes were all crazy and he's a dude in his 30s.
At any age, but yes, especially a dude in his 30s.
Especially in your 30s. I feel like it's the most egregious. Red flag 20, ruins birthdays and holidays because he can't stand when it's not about him for 5 minutes. Makes important milestones, moments, and achievements about him. Y'all remember when Cardi B had her show and then, what was it? Was it Offset? Came up on stage and just kind of like made it about him for a minute. And because they had just, got into a fight. Yeah, he proposed. And he was like doing all this crazy shit.
He's a prime example of all of these red flags like rolled into one person. And there's so many men out there like that. I mean, there was this summer, there was that marathon runner.
Yes,
whose husband was like,
runner.
like have the kids go say hi, and then she had to go out there and make an apology video for him.
Oh, I never seen the apology video.
It was so terrible. She was like, either. It was my fault actually. Like, no, girl, please. He needs to learn. He needs to learn how to read the room. Like, I don't care if you guys had talked about it beforehand. Like,
wait, are you talking about the guy? No, are you talking about the guy who pushed his kid right out in front of her as she was finna get to the finish line?
Yes, he got so much hate for that she came out and, made a statement about.
Why is that always the case with
always the
case.
When
women do
every time?
That man
and
tried to sabotage
he
her.
embarrassed you in front of everybody, but now that's embarrassing for you. And that's what I hate too, is like at the end of the day, people are going to think that you're the one that should be embarrassed as a woman. The man should never be embarrassed.
He literally
the man was
tried
always
to sabotage
misunderstood.
Her. I don't care what nobody said. That's what he was doing.
Exactly. Like, you couldn't pay me enough to think otherwise. Seriously, you couldn't make enough statements for me to think otherwise, because men do this every single day. They propose to women at their graduations, on their
at the Olympics.
At the Olympics. Like, no. It's because they cannot stand to not be the main character. And they never thought that a woman could ever be the main character.
Yeah.
Yes. So for those who aren't chronically online like us, this was a video that circulated online for a while of a woman who was running this marathon. And marathon, you train for like at least a year to be able to run this whole, 24, 25 miles.
Wow.
It's so many miles. It's crazy.
It's a lot of miles. Basically, it's a lot of cardio and it's a lot of training and it's a lot of dedication and blood, sweat, and tears in the gym. And that's your goal. Like, it's everything that you work really, really hard for. And the fact that he just kind of pushed his kids out as she was about to cross the finish line and do what she, was training for however long she was training to do that, just shows a lack of respect he had for her, in my opinion, because, why wouldn't you want to be more supportive in that moment of your wife if she, you got to see kind of secondhand how hard she worked for this, and you just still kind of wanted to make it about you like that.
She did. She did end up finishing, though. For those who didn't see it, she did. She kind of ran past him and the kids out of the way. And good for her.
But the kids, it was sad because the kids were confused because their dad hyped them up to go out there and and it just, he did not read the room. There was a vehicle following behind her. Like, the whole thing was
he read
so
the
dangerous.
Room. He planned that.
It was crazy.
That's why the kids were confused, because he didn't tell the kids. He knew what he was doing. He knew.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Red flag number 21. He says, I don't want to wear a condom, or I don't want to get tested. That's a self-explanatory red flag.
Yep.
Because, even if you weren't going to do it to get into, my pants, why wouldn't you just do that for
yourself?
For
your
yourself.
own?
And then they're going to
your own
talk
health?
about women baby trap us. Women baby trap me. No, you should have worn a condom. If you didn't want to get baby trapped, there's a way to prevent that. First of all, there's other ways to prevent it too, but the simplest one, like the most common one, is you just wear a condom. That way you can't ever say shit about, oh, she baby trapped me. But men will literally slip them off and like stealth women.
Yeah.
Too. They will lie about, okay, I'll use a condom, and then be like, oh, sorry, it ripped, or like, sorry, I just took it off for a second. Like, why are you taking it off at all? Oh, it's so terrible. Like, they will play with your life. If they're like, I'm not going to wear a condom, it doesn't matter if you're on birth control. It doesn't matter. That's your side, right? You're taking care of your side. If he wants to be able to get off scot-free on, oh, I got baby trapped, or like, oh, whatever, then he needs to use a condom, because then it really won't be his fault. But it will still be his fault because he decided to do that anyway. Like, just the way that we say that about women.
I did a video about this a few months ago, and I said the number one way to help narrow down guys that are not serious is to tell them, like, the first or the second date, let's go get tested. Most of them are not going to. And that's how you know to just let them go. Whether you're planning on using a condom or not, you would still want to be with somebody that knows their status. But so many guys don't like going to the doctor in general because they don't want to know and they don't care. So if you want to find out if a guy is serious or not, tell them let's go get tested on the second or third date or first date or whatever and see their reaction. I guarantee you won't hear from most of them again.
Yep. That's a nice vetting strategy too. Red flag number 22, he doesn't eat vegetables, or he picks at his food like a baby. He only eats chicken nuggets or like French fries everywhere you go. That's embarrassing, sis. I'm sorry. That's like, you'll try to take him to a nice Michelin star restaurant and
he'll get fries.
He'll
and
immediately
chicken
just
fingers.
He'll find whatever is chicken nugget related and just order that. It'll be like
chicken nugget adjacent.
Oh my God. That's perfect.
Pretty much.
Oh my God. I'm using that. I'm so stealing that.
That's so it just grosses me out. It gives me the ick immediately.
Chicken nugget adjacent.
Yeah, some of these you can't really fully explain, but you just know it's a red flag. Like, you just know it is. You know his mom, like, babied him, like... And I understand some people have food sensitivities or whatever, but if he's, like, not even, like, at least, like, didn't warn you about it, or, like, say, like, hey, I'm, like, allergic to a lot of things, or, like, hey, I can't handle food textures. Like, that's one thing. But a lot of men will be like, oh, no, I'm not eating that foo-foo crap. Like, okay, you're just uncultured, like
chicken nugget
unadventurous
is crazy work.
When I was young,
I'm still laughing.
When I was younger and I was dating around like in my early 20s, I would go to restaurants, and the restaurants that they'll be like, oh, you pick. So I would pick somewhere that like is nice, and I picked like Korean food. 9 times out of 10, Korean barbecue is the main go-to for a lot of, like, it can be for birthdays, and it could be nice for a romantic setting. Like, it's just, it's great for every occasion. So, like, why wouldn't I pick Korean barbecue? It's great. And there's a lot you can choose from. There's different meats. So you don't always have to eat chicken. You can eat beef and kalbi and bulgogi. So, like, it's good. And also the side dishes, like japchae, like just noodles. Like, it's... Anyways, so if I go there and the only thing that they want to eat is, like, Korean fried chicken, like the wings and whatnot, that's got gochujang and what on it. I mean, great that you tried gochujang, but like, let's see you eat kimchi. Let's see you eat japchae. Let's see you eat
just don't be a baby. Like, just don't be weird.
See if they shit on it, because if they shit on it, well, that's immediate turn off. Like, I gotta leave.
Food right about now.
I know, you're making us hungry.
Jeez.
And it's great for people who have even like food sensitivities too, because there's a lot of stuff in there that or even like if you're vegetarian, there's definitely food options available for you if you're vegetarian for Korean barbecue. But anyways, red flag number 23, his For You page on Insta and TikTok are porn related. So you go to try to like find a video on his TikTok, and the first thing that pulls up is like a half naked girl like dancing and shaking her ass or something.
Usually
and
uncomfortably young too. Yeah,
it's like it's a little risky looking. Like, it's almost like if the FBI is watching, you could land him in some hot water. But like that's not acceptable. And especially like after the age of like, 24, 25, when you're out of this peer group range, like that's really gross. So next red flag, no emotional intelligence, unable to have discussions about the relationship or their behavior without feeling personally attacked or being overly defensive. They might overreact in a way that causes you to react and then uses your reaction as a way to shift the focus off of him. This is a typical Darvo technique. And deny and reverse victim. And I forgot what O stands for.
Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender.
That, yes. And people should definitely Google that because I think more women have been a victim of the Darvo technique than you were aware of. And I don't think men do this consciously. Like, it's not like, I'll just pull a Darvo and then I'll just get away with it. Like, it's not
conscious.
A conscientious decision. Like, it's very subconscious because they'll just find any reason or any way possible to get the heat off of his back and onto you instead.
They also think that introspection and emotions are gay. So that right there is already like enough of a deterrent. They're like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about my feelings. Like, okay, you're not going to have a productive relationship then.
Yeah. So my friend Tori is the one who gave me this red flag number 24 because I literally watched this happen in one of her other relationships where he did this to her. And and I just thought I would definitely add that to the list because I think more women than just Tori have had this experience. So definitely, I think it should be on there. And number 25, if he's a member of the NRA, the National Rifle Association. So that is like a conservative sublet of the Conservative Party. So it's like its own cult, in my opinion. And I am somebody who was raised conservative as a little kid because I'm from a rural part of Louisiana originally. So like everybody and their mama was a conservative, and just that's just their life over there. And I've been to a few NRA conventions, and some of them are kind of cool and fun, and they were more kind of inclusive of like women and girls and teaching them how to shoot and teaching them gun safety and all that stuff and being more, kind of open about it. But lately, I feel like it's just become more of like a peacocking thing, and it's attracted a lot more of like the red pill manosphere dudes who just want a place to showcase their gun knowledge and impress other men. And it's not really a space for women, in my opinion. Not that it ever really was, but back then it used to be a great place for even like female conservatives or women who are conservatives to showcase their self-defense tactics or their self-defense products that they have. And it used to just be really good for that. But I just don't see that anymore these days.
I was a member for a few years, some years back. But that was just because
I was.
But you're not a man,
I was online.
So okay.
It was online mostly, like the online, because I just wanted to get hats and gear and all that because I was taking
they were cool. Like I remember, and like this was the early 2000s. Yeah. My dad took me to a few NRA conventions, and they were so much fun. But I feel like I watch them on YouTube sometimes of the NRA conventions that happen in Houston at the George R. Brown Center, because it's right down the road from me. And I look at those YouTube videos because I don't ever want to like step foot in there anymore. And I don't ever see women in those YouTube videos hardly ever at all.
That's true.
And if there are, they're like one of like a very, very few, and like they'll just be surrounded by men. And I don't feel comfortable by that knowledge.
I agree.
Like, you're just one woman and surrounded by a room full of men, girl.
With guns.
With guns. Guns and ammo. Number 26. Constantly interrupts you or doesn't ask any questions about your life, interests, or hobbies. And this would be like in the first date. So on the first date, if it's just you talking or you are the one like asking questions, but he doesn't like ask any follow-up or he doesn't ask anything about, your life outside of your work or what you like to do, and just making it more kind of like an equal 50-50 situation in terms of like talking about what y'all like to do. And it feels hollow. Yeah. If you feel hollow after the date, it wasn't it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 27, he hates cats because cats are a lesson in consent.
So true.
I feel like cats are very female coded.
So true.
They're very free spirited and free willed, and they're just going to do what they want when they want. So when men don't like that, I feel like that's very telling.
I completely agree.
Or just because a man has a dog does not mean he's a good man. A lot of men like dogs because they're like they're easier than cats in that way. You can train them, you can threaten them enough. Cats just don't really give a shit.
Yeah. And also if cats don't like him, it's another red flag.
Absolutely.
And 28, he drinks alcohol and smokes weed like excessively to the point where it's very unhealthy. Yeah. Like he'll spend his last $20 on weed Girl, that's dusty behavior.
Very dusty.
It really is, yeah.
29, they hide their phone, they don't share passwords, or they're acting secretive and shady. That's self-explanatory. Number 30, still goes to bikini sports bars past the age of 25 or 30.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Even
like, I mean, at any age, but it's like...
yeah. But more especially at the tail end of your 20s, because, like, your peer group in your early 20s are the kind that, like, go to sports bars and, like, maybe, like, you know, you have a friend who works there and you're just there to, like, hang out or whatever. Or, yeah, and, like, that's, like, a more appropriate thing for, like, your early 20s, like 21, 22, maybe 23, but most kind of self-aware men have grown out of that by at least 23, I would hope. So it just feels more and more egregious the older you get after like 25 or 30. And these girls at these bikini sports bars are like 21, 22. Maybe this is like their first or second job and it's getting them through college. Like it just feels nasty and just, I don't support that.
I agree.
And I don't respect women who let their men do that either. Number 31, asks about body count or even cares about that shit.
That's such a red flag.
Terrible. Even your dogs knew that. They were like, oh, that's the one.
Right.
That's the one right there.
They co-signed that one.
Yeah.
Are we going to cut that? I'm so sorry.
No, I thought that was kind of funny.
That's fine.
Yeah, don't cut his cosign. No. He's agreeing
No,
with
that
you.
was an agreement. Yeah.
that was a spark of solidarity. Yeah. Thank you, Marvin. So if he ever asks about body count in a date, ask about his bank account. And that's on Shira 7.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle. I love it.
32, they're weirdly competitive with others, like men or women. So they get weirdly, like, they try to one-up either you in a conversation or other men around them or even their friends. They're just like a one-upper. You can't get one over this guy. And that just screams like an inferiority complex, in my opinion.
Insecurity.
Absolutely. Or always trying to like impress other men, like saying things that he thinks will impress other men or like changing his opinions that he said to you in private. He feels one way, but then he gets around a bunch of men and he starts making all sorts of like jokes or comments or whatever. I feel like that's also self-explanatory. Like if like he's male gaze oriented, he's always going to be more worried about impressing men than he is going to be about impressing you.
So he just has a lot of like insecurity and inferiority complex, but he also just kind of, it's the male version of the pick me.
Oh, yeah.
Number 33, watches what you buy or wear and judges and shames you about it. So if like, let's say you go to the mall and you get like a nice, like little black dress, like a cocktail dress, and he's like, why are you wearing that? Or you buy like
it's
a new
your
perfume.
Body. Yeah, it's your body. Do whatever you want. Like, and if he can't get on board, he should leave. That's it. That's his only option. That's the boundary he gets to draw. He does not get to tell you what to wear.
I can honestly say that every guy that has ever done that to me, when I tell you I instantly stop liking them, like in that moment, I'm like, oh, no, this ain't gonna work. Like it's such a turnoff. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, they'll never fucking hear from me again. I don't know what it is, but like, yeah, that's just such a red flag for me.
Yeah, it's none of your business. Like, as a man, that's none of your business.
And a lot of times they're jealous that they can't do the same thing.
I was going to say, yes, it's because they're jealous. Like,
they can't be a bad bitch. They're wannabe bad bitches. Like, they're jealous that they can't, go out and impress all the men around them that they would normally, like, want their approval and attention from.
And if you have disposable income and they don't.
I love how other men act around rich men. It's very interesting to watch.
It is very interesting. They're like groupies.
Pathetic.
The original groupies.
They're the original gold diggers, in my opinion.
Yeah. And they'll do it for less than gold. That's the funny part. Is like women are at least getting something out. Exactly. They'll do it for freaking approval. Just like, ugh. Yep.
As Burb always says, these head pats.
We love Burb.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Burb.
Shout out to Burb. Number 34, he doesn't correct his male friends if they say something misogynistic, rude, disrespectful towards you or other women, or they try to dismiss it as like, he's just joking. Like, red flag. Because then he's always just going to go along with whatever as long as, it's a compliance. It's another compliance test.
Yep.
Number 35, if you ask him why he likes you and he lists the things you do in service of him and not about you as a person. So he'll say something like, oh, well, I like that you always help me with my laundry, or I like that you always help me with my homework. And it kind of sounds like a mommy and son relationship than it does like a equal partnership. 36, can't read the room to make his own decisions. He's a follower, not a leader.
Yes.
So he's always kind of looking around, seeking out approval from others rather than just following the beat of his own drum or trying to find any sort of like clue basically and just go off his own logic and what he thinks is right or wrong. He's just always kind of like, if that's what, other men are doing, then that's what I'm doing too. Red flag.
Huge red flag. This is a big one because a lot of men cannot read the room, or if they can, they will deliberately like leave you in situations where you like either have to fend for yourself and then like, they'll leave you around their toxic family and then just like not come and like help you or like not say something. And it's like, you just have to deal with it by yourself. That's not good. Like they should be able to like read the room and figure it out.
I agree.
Number 37, if your friends or even his friends all say he's weird, listen to them. Even if his friends are the ones that are like starting to question why you're with him, like run.
Yes, that's they're really so weird. Surprised. Yeah, if they're like, what did he do? Like, how did you? It's like, yeah, he's not a catch.
Yeah.
Or they'll say something like, I can't believe Creepy Carl got a guy.
Oh, ew. Ooh. Run, you gotta go. That's so gross.
That's kind of messed
Creepy
up.
Carl got a girl? Oh.
Yeah.
And like, girl, why is he named Creepy Carl?
Yeah.
That should be the biggest question. Right. So yeah, definitely that's huge red flag. So even if his friends are confused why a pretty girl like you is dating their weird homie, that's big scrub
Sometimes
energy.
that could be jealousy on their part. You just got to kind of watch it. Some guys are haters. You know what I mean? Sometimes it could just be like, he's whack, or he's too quiet, or he doesn't even go after girls. What?
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'll try to find. So you just have to kind of keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, most of the time they know him and they know the things he's done. A lot of times. So yeah, run. Absolutely.
38, weaponizes his incompetence or his past traumas to keep you under control. Like, oh, I'm this way because I was abused by other women in the past. Or please don't do XYZ because I had this one ex who did, and now I'm afraid you'll do the same. And it's just another way to control you. It's a compliance test. I saw this one story of this one girl on TikTok who said for the longest time she couldn't have cats because her boyfriend was allergic to cats, and said that he would like die if he ever touched a cat, basically. So she was always just very, very overly cautious and careful that if she ever came across a cat to, wash herself, wash her hands, or her friends had cats to change, her clothes after she visited her friend with cats. And then 3 or 4 years later down the road, when he's cheating on her and she finds out that the girl that he cheated on her with had a cat.
Oh, wow.
Like,
wow. He never died.
Or the
died.
man who proposed to his girlfriend with like cookies that his affair partner made him, and she bit into one and it had peanuts in it, and she's deathly allergic to peanuts.
Oh no.
And he was like, and he hid the ring in the cookie, and he just like, he hadn't even tried them, like he didn't even know what the other girl put in them, but he had the nerve.
Did the other girl know about her?
I don't know.
Probably not.
What the?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It doesn't matter. If your man is like out there trying to find whatever woman is not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, even if she knows, like.
No, but I'm just saying, like, was that the peanut thing? I'm like, did she know? And did she do it on purpose? Like, what the fuck was that?
I didn't even think about that. That's a great question.
Yikes.
But then it's like both, oh my God. Then that means she knows that he is so incompetent. Like, why are either of you with him? That's horrible.
39, you're constantly having to make excuses for him in front of others. You are not his mom. Dump him.
Yep. Should never have to do that.
Like that one girl who her awful boyfriend or ex went mega viral because she made that song about the breakup. And she's like, oh, I had this, boyfriend and you're so in love. And how could I not see that we were incompatible?
Oh, yeah.
That song. Yeah. And then immediately, after that went viral and he started, getting outed, she immediately came back on TikTok and was like, it was all just a joke. I really just want the best for him. Blah, blah, blah. Excuses. And then more and more facts start kind of coming up that like he wouldn't even share his groceries with her.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's always, this is why we say don't date the 50-50 guy. This is why we say that, because this is how they act. And they'll just use you for your labor and use you to move across the country and then just be like, we're incompatible. After being with you for like 8 years, they'll be like, yeah, we were incompatible this whole entire time.
Yeah.
I didn't actually want to be with you. It's horrible. And it's because he hasn't invested a damn thing. He didn't even let you share his fucking groceries. That, of course, he's like, oh, yeah, no big deal.
Number 40, food is fuel. Judges what you order at restaurants like an unevolved Neanderthal would or a disordered anorexic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of gym bros actually show signs of disordered eating, but they get away with it for the same reasons models and pop stars do.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Don't ever let a man judge what you eat in front of him.
That or like order for you behavior. Or like change your order. Be like, oh, are you sure you want to eat that? You know, you don't, you don't like.
I feel like men should be more impressed by how much like a tiny girl can eat and like really put away like that.
Right.
You should just be asking like, where does it all go?
Or something.
Yeah.
If anything, it's none of your business. You don't like her. You don't like how she eats. You don't like the weight she's gained. You don't got to be with her. It's that simple. Don't try to control another person.
The right one will be impressed that you can eat 48 hot dogs in front of him. Amen. Number 41. His favorite books are 48 Laws of Power, or like maybe like The Art of War.
Yeah.
Or any like dark psychology books, or even like pickup artist books, like because there's some of those out now. My own personal one, anything like written by Ayn Rand, Ayn Rand, because Ayn Rand, she was the woman who pioneered this philosophy called objectivism, and objectivism is essentially just encouraging selfishness in men. So like anything that is like a selfish goal is the right goal to have, just because your point of view is the only point of view that matters, and everybody else is essentially like an NPC. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if they're reading like Atlas Shrugged, yeah, she was a pick me. If you're reading Atlas Shrugged, if he's reading Atlas Shrugged, dump him.
Seriously, dump him, because it's not even good writing. If you know anything about good writing or like how to write characters, like, and also it's extremely like racist. So
it was racist.
All sorts of red flags about that book. Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
I never read it, never heard of it. So
for the Patreon, I'll go ahead and I'll do like a little think piece on Ayn Rand for you guys for our VIP subscribers.
Yay.
Shout out to y'all. 42. If you wouldn't want to be with them even on your worst days or their worst days, dump them now and cut your losses. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say he loses his job, or like, let's say he all of a sudden, like he goes from having a lot of money to little money. Money just changes people. Mm-hmm. No matter what. Like even if you lose it or if you gain a lot of it, it immediately just changes your whole chemistry in your brain somehow. But especially I feel like for men, especially when they lose money, they become more reclusive in themselves, and they just kind of like shut themselves off from the world, and they become more bitter and angry towards you, or they're jealous of you, especially if you have like a higher paying job than him. Like when it comes to money, like definitely keep your eye, on him and make sure that his behavior stays roughly the same at least. Mm-hmm. And especially pay attention to what happens to him whenever he gets a lot of money or he loses a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Red flag number 43. If you go over to his place and there's holes in the drywall or signs that his mom took care of him his whole life.
Mattress on the floor. If there's a mattress on the floor. If there's only a chair and a TV in the living room.
And the TV is just propped up by books.
Yep. If there's an expired half a gallon of milk in the fridge and nothing else. No cooking ingredients in the kitchen. There's no oil.
Stacks of energy drink cans by the computer.
Yep. Drink cans by the computer. Like smoking inside. I don't know. That one is kind of like, especially if the place like really stinks and stuff. Like things like that where it's just like.
He doesn't care about anything.
He doesn't care about anything. Mm-hmm. It's just dirty. Like he has like the same one set of sheets, or like his pillow is just like non-existent basically at this point. Like, like I've seen so many horror stories. Like I've heard so many, and it's just like, or like even just little things, like he just has like no shoes or socks or no organization system for things. Like it's just, that's how he's going to come to you.
It's just a pigsty.
Yeah.
And that's him. That's all you need to know about, man.
You can't forget the shit streaks.
Not the skid marks.
Yes. Or shit streaks in the toilet.
Oh, yeah. He didn't even bother, like, cleaning the toilet at least.
Yeah, there's like a bottle of Dawn in the shower.
Or the 3-in-1 shampoo. Oh God.
Yes, and it's the worst because like women really will like overlook these things. I remember this like Reddit post about this, like where this girl was like, "Oh, I found like a bottle of Dawn like in my boyfriend's shower," and he said, "Well, if it's good enough to clean the baby ducks, it's good enough to clean me."
My God.
And it was played off as this like cute thing, and I'm like, I just don't even want to know the like dryness level of your skin. Like your skin has not been nourished or moisturized, and that skin is crying
God
out.
God has abandoned the skin barrier.
Yes.
Oh my God, I couldn't agree more. Oh my God.
So there are lots of little things like that.
Definitely don't overlook hygiene. Hygiene is super important, especially for the bedroom.
Yes, or the amount.
Why would you let a dirty dick?
Yes, thank you. And can I just say one more thing? The amount of men that will not have a roll of toilet paper in their house.
Oh my God, I forgot about that one.
I've been a victim of this before
as a woman, and you're like, wait. Because then you start doing the math, and you're like, wait,
no, they're always fresh out. They're always fresh out.
Exactly, but that's why they have shit streaks in their underpants. If you're wondering, it's because they don't stock toilet paper because they think it's gay to wipe between their butt cheeks.
It's gay to spread your cheeks in the shower to really get those dingleberries.
Yeah.
So I've been a victim of this, and not because like I was over there for like a sexual endeavor. I was literally like, I have this like study group that I have for one of my classes, and it had like a group project. And so last minute we decided to all go over to his place because it was the closest one by the school. And so we go there, and I go to use the bathroom, and it's something kind of a nightmare, like a frat house. Yeah. It's the 3-in-1 shampoo. Yeah. But at least like the shower wasn't like completely, dirty.
It probably just moved in.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, probably.
Probably just moved in. But like there was just no toilet paper, and I was like panicking because I was like, oh God. So disgusting. Gross. Luckily, like I just noped out of there anyways, and so the project got done. I just did my part online.
Yeah, good for you.
44. If you have ever had to make a pros and cons list more than once.
Yep.
I see this on TikTok like all the time of girls whenever they don't know like how to do conflict resolution yet because they're like in their teenage years or like 16, 17. And so they just kind of make a pros and cons list. But I see kind of like older women doing it too, like in your mid 20s or late 20s. Like sis, if you just had to do like a pros and cons list like more than once or even twice, by like maybe like a year in, like it's time to cut your loss, honestly. Like if you have to ask yourself, like it's probably a no. And definitely listen to your gut on that one too. Number 45, also another one from my friend Tori. He finds ways to test your loyalty. So he'll constantly kind of like break up and see how much you chase after him or find ways to like pick at you and bother you, especially while you're at work. And then if you don't immediately respond, oh, well, then you just don't care about me.
Accuses you of cheating when you go out with the girls.
Yeah. A lot of the cheating accusations, especially. Like, they'll just be hanging out with the girls, but if you don't text back immediately, that must mean that you're cheating. So,
and they're usually, what's the word I'm looking for? Projecting. Yeah. When a guy just suddenly out of nowhere starts accusing you of cheating, that's probably your number one indicator that he's the one that's cheating. So just keep that in mind.
46, he places you in a dangerous or risky situation. If he's an adrenaline junkie, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag.
Yeah, do that shit by yourself. Do that shit by yourself and then date around when you're done. I'm sorry, there's just no excuse. Like, there was a video on TikTok a couple months back about the man who took his girlfriend up to like some crazy elevation that she and she had a condition that was not compatible with that, and she literally passed out several times and like literally risked her life just all because he didn't go and like check the website of like what to expect. Like, you should do that anytime you're going anywhere, like national parks or places that you're not familiar with, because there's places like in California or Arizona where like you can't show up unless you have like a 48 ounce or whatever, depends on the heat, like water bottle that's full. Like they won't let you hike. And a lot of these men will take you on these kinds of hikes unprepared, and they'll risk your life. And it's just absolutely crazy. It'll be something that comes easy to them, or it'll be like a hike that they've done before, but they want to expose you to it and then make fun of you when you're like struggling, like literally fighting for your
Yeah,
life.
because then
That is
wasn't he
such a red
recording her
flag.
like out of breath and all that
Yes.
stuff?
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
And it's just so like, it just sucks to see it like over and over and over.
Yeah.
So many men do this, or be like, oh, surprise, we're doing this thing that you've always said that you never want to do. Like, why? For what?
Yeah, it just shows like a lack of consideration, a lack of respect, and it just shows how really, really selfish they are.
They're willing to play with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In every way.
They play with their own lives. You could just pay attention to their behaviors and the things that they're willing to do. So a guy who doesn't care about his own life could never care about yours.
Yes. So
Yeah.
well said.
I actually have a story. So one time I was in college and I was seeing this guy for a little while. And gosh, I must have been like 21, 22. And he was a little bit older than me. He was like 24, 25. And I was kind of living in my dorm at the time. And I remember he calls me from like a frat party, and it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like begging me, calling me for a ride. And he's like pissed drunk. Like you can just tell on the phone that he's so drunk, but like you're the only one that they can call. Because maybe like I'm the only one that's going to answer at 3 a.m. because I can't lie, I'm a night owl, and that's not a secret. So I feel bad for the guy because like, you know, he's just really, really drunk. I'm like 21, and so I haven't developed that prefrontal cortex yet that would normally just be like, oop, like block or hang up. So I drive to go pick him up, and I bring him to his house, and this is like a good 20, 25 minute drive, and that's when I drop him off at his house, that's when he tells me the whole time he had cocaine in his back pocket. I was so fucking pissed because if we would have gotten pulled over and God forbid searched, that would have been my ass in jail because I was driving. So yeah. And these kinds of things, you know, don't really register until your mid-20s, and you're like, damn, like that could have been really, really bad. But then you kind of brush it off initially. So yeah. But I mean, I'm glad I had the common sense enough to just block after that, because why the fuck would you ever put me in that situation?
Yeah.
Even if we were even if you were my boyfriend, like that's still a big, big no-no. And yeah, we weren't even serious and he did that, girl.
Yeah.
I still kind of shake my head at that.
Yeah. And as a Slavic woman, I can just tell you too, like a lot of these guys they're just dangerous. Like if they're willing to like put you in a car and then start like speeding around and like doing crazy shit on like the freeway, like spinning donuts, like all that stuff when they said they were just going to take you for a ride. I don't know. This may be an incredibly niche Slavic experience, but some guys really do that. They try to impress you by being like as stupid as they possibly can in their car or on a bike or whatever. But it's like, do that shit yourself and just let me watch. Because if you die, I don't want to be in there with you. I don't want to deal with all that. Like, I don't want to die. Like, what the hell? If you really want to impress me, like, don't put me in the dangerous situation. If anything, put yourself in that dangerous situation.
Just put it on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you? Because, I mean, you would just get more clout and attention that way, right? Like, wouldn't you?
I don't know, man.
It just seems...
I don't know what they want. It just seems all of it seems so backwards to me as a human being, but here we are.
I agree.
Yeah.
This was an amazing list, Gwen. My only thing like that I could even think of to add, and I do think we covered it, but just watch out for a general sense or theme of insecurity, right? If a man is like trying to bring you down, like all of these things somehow tie back into insecurity. And
that wrapped up my 46 red flags, because that's all I have for now. But keep your eyes peeled on our Patreon, because I will go ahead and post my red flag list up on there, as well as our green flag list, but that will be a separate episode.
Yes.
Because I fear we have run out of our time.
We have, for sure.
But I guess I'll go ahead and read this last part down here, where I kind of had like a side note to women who are potentially reading this, because I really do think it's important, even for people who aren't paying for the Patreon. So I've been taught by my parents to treat marriage and parenting like an important business deal because it kind of is. Like, as a woman, who you marry or attach yourself to with a child will set the course for the next 18 to 20 years and possibly the rest of your life. It's important now more than ever to be picky while we still can, because marriage for men has never been easier. No matter how men feel or how they try to make you feel about the high standards, they're there because smart women knew that our lives depend on how finicky we are. Like, facts don't care about feelings when it's life or death. Approach dating as if it were an interview conducted by HR. Use the dating phase to ask meaningful, probing questions, like much like you would when assessing a candidate for a critical role, because ultimately that's exactly what marriage or partnership is. It's not solely about chemistry or vibes. It's about ensuring alignment on the things that truly matter. For some, it's money. For others, it's politics, religion, and traditional role fulfilling. Men have gotten really good at hiding their intentions in order to get sex. So it's imperative that while screening their answers on dates, you are also screening and judging their behaviors and actions.
Yep.
Amen.
I agree. 100%.
And no.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That was lovely, Gwen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Should we get into our mailbag after this next break?
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, and welcome back. Let's dig into our mailbag. We're going to have Sovereign read this one, and then we will all react.
I am 36 years old, no kids, and live in a rural area of New England. I don't have a lot of female friends that can relate or are on a decentering path. I found myself reevaluating how I want to live my life around 2 years ago when I ended a long-term relationship with someone I thought was the one, but ended up being abusive, much like past relationships. In all honesty, that relationship was the last straw for me in terms of giving any more of my time or self to men. Something that concerns me about the state of politics and society in general is the repealing of women's rights and how far we might go down that road. If things take a really dark or darker turn for women in America and we lose more freedoms, as it seems our president-elect desires, what does that mean for women like myself who have no husband or male relative to, quote, take control? My father is still living, but he's not getting any younger, and obviously one day he will not be with us. I have a brother, but he passed away at the age of 22 in a car accident. Who gets to make decisions for me? Who controls the money and assets owned by women? I am about to move into my new home that was 100% funded by myself when I truly never thought I would be able to have my own home without the cosign of a man. I have the incredible privilege of being in my current situation, and it actually makes me really nervous about what's to come. I'd love any insight you may have, historically, or just your thoughts on this. And she says, in the same vein, how can women help and support each other if the above proposed scenario does become reality? I'm thinking single, widowed, etc. women without the protection of a man.
Well, first of all, congrats on the house and the home ownership.
Yay.
For
Big
sure.
ups.
Yeah.
Very
That's
proud
amazing.
of you. Yeah.
It's a big
And
accomplishment.
honestly, I have no solid advice. The only thing I can really say is that it's focusing too much on a possibility when it's not become a reality yet. And the only real advice I could possibly really say to this is that what we have now needs to be protected at all costs. So join local kind of groups around you that are doing grassroots work for local politics to protect women's rights. So there are some, at least in my area, that were focused on at least doing their best to protect Roe. And then that group, I think now is more focused on funding abortions in other states, and they're also more focused on providing care and shelter for those women. So especially at these domestic violence shelters, they're funding those too. So I would try to see if they have any of those in your area, although you said it's rural, so I really don't know. But yeah, worst comes to worst, if we ever do lose these rights, and God forbid, I really don't know, I would say to resist at all costs. Like, we would not submit, and I don't think a lot of women would go willingly into that, nightmare situation of the Handmaid's Tale. But even in The Handmaid's Tale, they found ways to resist. I think we would have like some of those kinds of channels. I don't know if you ever watched Handmaid's Tale, but I think that could probably answer some of your questions about a post-apocalyptic scenario, maybe.
Yeah, it's also like you have to realize there are women in countries right now that are experiencing this. This is not new. It's just we have been spared from it for a long time. And this is why a lot of our parents, like my parents, wanted to immigrate here and wanted to come here because this country has certain protections and certain freedoms. But also, in retrospect, it's like, at least in our country, everybody had a social safety net. So women didn't have to fear literally for their life when they didn't have a job or didn't have a man or their man died or left them desolate or whatever. It's like at least people had a social safety net. But in America, there isn't one. So women are just going to have to make one. And I'm sorry to say that if all this does go through, there will be vulnerable women who suffer and possibly, die and things like that because they just won't be protected. That's what it comes down to. That's why it was so important to vote for us. That's why a lot of women voted and a lot of men were like, I don't see what the big deal is. Nothing bad has happened yet.
And the reason why we have so much feminism as we have now and women's rights is because those women, the suffragettes, they got shit done. They lit buildings on fire. Like, they definitely don't teach this in, rural schools or rural areas like of feminist history. But those women, they fought, literally, physically, they fought to have the rights that we have today. So I really don't think we should be sleeping on that open book test. If you get my drift.
So the concerns that this woman has are the exact same concerns that I have for the most part. I'm not really worried about who's going to, I guess, protect me or whatever. But I think, so I'll tell you where my mind is at. Because this is a very real possibility under Trump that this is very likely to happen, I would say becoming self-sufficient is super important. And what I mean by that is like getting into homesteading. And homesteading is like learning how to grow and plant your own food, learning how to preserve food, learning how to just maybe looking into like preserving water. I don't know if that's going to be illegal. I was hearing some stuff about that, but I don't know how true that is. But when you learn how to self-sustain, and I know everybody can't learn every single thing, like how to make your own clothes and how to provide electricity and all that. Everybody can't do that. But I just feel like the more you can learn, as far as I would definitely start with. And I know that this is easier said than done, but as far as like having some land on the house that you bought and learning how to grow your own vegetables and things like that. Because I feel like being child-free, I don't know if she's child-free or not, but like child-free, for an example, I feel like they're going to find a way to punish us as well. Even if that means double taxing us or,
I was going to say it'll probably be higher taxes or something.
So women are going to, they're going to come after everybody who they don't feel are living the way that they expect us to live. So child-free women in general, people who are not married. So you really have to learn how to self-sustain in every way possible that you can. I know everybody can't do everything, but whatever you can do, that's really all you can do right now, because hopefully this doesn't happen. But I'm not going to sit on my hands and say, oh, no, this is probably not going to happen. There's so many things that a lot of people didn't see coming, and it's in the works. So we can't, it is better to be safe than sorry. I would also, if you live in a state where you can get a firearm, I would get that. I would get a passport just in case, all those things, assuming if you don't have them, that is how I would mentally prepare myself for the inevitable, or I don't want to say the inevitable, but for the possibility of this. It'll help you feel a little bit better too if you start gathering these things right now instead of waiting until it'll make you feel like you're getting somewhere and that you're doing something. And then if push come to shove and you need to leave the States or whatever, you got a passport. If you need to pull your firearm or somebody who's coming to try to, steal your food or whatever. I mean, I don't know if you can, pull a gun on somebody for that. But I'm just saying, like, you just have to try to be proactive with all the ways in which you can be self-sufficient. That's the point I'm making. And it's so important that women stick together. And I know all of us are not going to stick together, but hopefully we will get a percentage where it matters. I know it's never going to be 100%, but even if it's 40% or 50, you know what I mean? Like half of us, it could make a huge difference.
This is what women have historically always had to do. This is how we've always survived. This is how we've always, because when push comes to shove, even a lot of the pick-me women are going to see the light all of a sudden. And even a lot of the women, it's going to take a lot of women getting burned and a lot of these ex-trad wives, like, they do see the light eventually. It is kind of inevitable. So
I agree. I just hate that so many women have to go through all of that in order to see it instead of seeing it beforehand.
Well, the propaganda works really well that we have out in this country, and that's why we have this podcast, is to try and try
to unlearn some of that propaganda. For some women, if the nail finally is shut in the coffin, that maybe this may or may not wake up the rest of the women that have been kind of, I didn't think the leopards would eat my face.
No, but for real, it's just a case in point. It's like things you really don't think can happen really do happen all the time, actually. It's not that weird. And a lot of women, like, think about, Nazi Germany and how many people didn't think stuff like that was going to happen.
Yeah.
They said, oh, they can't do that. They can't do that. They can't just drag people out of their house and shoot them in the streets. Spoiler alert.
Well,
spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, they can and they might. So, better safe than sorry. I totally agree.
I have a healthy bit of skepticism when it comes to the post-apocalyptic situation kind of happening to us, like a Handmaid's Tale scenario type happening in America. But then it really does start to get a little scary because of how much I've seen signs of fascism, just textbook signs of fascism, I should add, just happened in front of my very eyes of like the oligarchy that we have all of a sudden, because Elon Musk, he is not an American. He is a South African man.
He's an immigrant.
And just because, he's an immigrant. And just because he's a billionaire, he's got a place in our politics. And I still don't know how that works or why or how that was able to happen. And then he bought one of the bigger social media platforms to just spread propaganda and push the alt-right agenda or push, Trump's agenda on there. And I don't understand how, the justice system isn't, coming down as hard on him, because if any, regular American had done what Elon did, even as a billionaire, I'm sure they would still get some sort of consequence, but I don't know.
And everybody has to let go of they can't do that mindset, because Trump is trying to overthrow the Constitution. So that means that they can do whatever they want. And I think it's going to be a lot of deaths and I'm not trying to fearmonger, but a lot of things are going to happen before things change or before things get better.
If you guys think the insurance denials are bad enough, think about the fact that they're pulling ACA. They're pulling Obamacare, which a lot of people thought was different than the Affordable Care Act, and it's not. So people are literally going to die because of that.
Yeah.
So,
and the crazy part, a lot of those people are going to be the people that voted for him. That's the that's the rub. It's going to be them. If anybody rushed the building, the Capitol building or whatever it was, if anybody protest and riot, I guarantee you the vast majority are going to be the ones who voted for him.
And he will mow them down with no remorse. He will send the troops out there and have them.
And he's already planning this because he said he's going to give them immunity. So that means he's already planning for people to riot and all that. And they're going to have, y'all ain't going to catch me out there.
Yeah.
I'm not rioting for nothing, because it's just going to be a danger war zone, and I refuse to put myself in that situation. But yeah, he's already planning this. I just hope
he is.
I just hope that it doesn't play out the way that they're planning for it to play out.
I know. I feel like we started out trying to make her feel better, and now we're just like, no, wait.
Right. Like, maybe Ryan can cut this.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's the truth. Goodness. We don't need to cut that. But no, it might. It's just you have to be aware. Like, look at other countries. Look at other countries that have been through it. Look up the fall of the USSR. Look up Iran. Look up all that stuff, because it might not happen, but it's good to be aware of what's the progression, and like how quickly things escalate. Yeah, and how close are we, and like what you can do, and it's going to be a lose-lose situation if it comes to that. But
yeah, people think the apocalypse is just going to look like what it looks like in TV shows and movies. Like the collapse of the government is going to mean, straight up anarchy.
Everything's on fire right away. Like, no, it's going to be slow and painful. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and they never stop. Like, once the government is eroded, and once the government is eroded, like, it's kind of over. Like, you're just Russia now. Like, and look up life in that country, and that's how it's going to be.
I hope we can be more like South Korea in that, when fascism presented its ugly head, a lot of the citizens rallied together to counteract this as fast as they could and as quickly as they could with the ferocity, because they've lived through a dictatorship before. They did not want that to ever happen again. Problem. We have yet to go through a dictatorship, and maybe, this would be that. The first, this would be that. But I really do think that there's enough people with enough sense that they probably would hopefully fight back. But we should take this time to consider to organize, like learn how to organize and organize. Like basically what the Republicans did during the Reagan administration is what we need to be doing.
Well, also look up what Russian women did during the feminist movement in the 17 and 1800s. They had to do this. They had to organize. They had to just, there was no social safety net, so they had to create one. That's what we're going to end up doing.
Well, I hope this all lays it out for you, whoever you are.
We're keeping y'all anonymous for your own safety. Yeah. But thank you so much. Just know that our hearts go out. We have the same concerns. We're thinking about all the same stuff, and we'll figure it out together.
And don't give in to anybody, and don't rush out and try to get married, or don't give in early. Just try to prepare yourself for things as much as possible. That's all you really can do.
All right. Well, this brings us to the end of our episode, but we do have a recommendation to give out.
So a recommendation, if y'all like my red flag list, a book that I think you guys should all read is one by Lundy Bancroft. It's the book Inside the Minds of Controlling Men. Why Does He Do That? And it kind of breaks down the red flags that I just kind of gave y'all, and it expands on that response that I had, that, men don't always do this conscientiously with intention. Like, it's very subconscious because they're coming from an unevolved place, and it's really impulsive and selfish because that's their, operating basis. So I definitely recommend that book.
One of the best books ever written.
Yeah. So if you've ever, dealt with an abusive relationship, this book will kind of give you some key insights as to why that happens and kind of how to navigate that in the future should you come across similar behavior. So definitely it's a must read for women everywhere.
Absolutely. And it's not even just like about men too. It's like if you've ever had an abusive or controlling person in your life, it's just a very validating book. And there is a way that you can buy it. But if you also type in the name of the book, Why Does He Do That? Free PDF, you can get a free PDF if you're just not in a place to be spending money on a book and you just really need to read it. It is available online for free through like many different websites. We'll try to put a free link in there as well.
All right, that's our show.
Thank you all so much for being here. Please remember to check out the Patreon. Please remember to rate and review the show. Give us 5 stars and leave a nice comment. Please get involved in our community that we're creating. Like I said, there's a free tier. There's a support-only tier if you're not able to spare much. But please come on out because we want to have that community there. We want to be able to hear your comments, hear your suggestions, and all of that. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.